Good morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's workshop. So, today I have several little projects just to share with you and allow you to watch what I do. They're really small projects that really can't hold their own as a whole video. So, here I'm enhancing some doorknobs, keys, and door hooks. I'm preparing them so I can install them on my already installed doors. They were kind of plain and I thought they needed some highlights, and I'm going to use my rub and buff to brighten them up. Now I put them all down on some masking tape, the sticky side up, so I could do them all in a batch. They came in little packages like candy. So I'm just taking a really small detail brush and just brushing over them. Now I had some door hooks that I had done previously, but I really didn't realize that I had missed some spots. So I'm going over them a second time. But I just want to encourage you to pay attention to small details like this because they may seem small and insignificant, but really small details like this make a really big impact. So don't overlook them. Now, it was kind of tedious, but it didn't take a really long time. And by me using the brush for the rub and buff, I didn't get it on my hands. Now, I do want to encourage you to do things like this ahead of time with your projects because I've installed some of my doors and they don't have doorknobs. Now, although I'm going to get the doorknobs installed, doorknobs on your doors on your craft table than to try to glue the doorknob to the door that's already installed in the house. So that's just a tip for you. And I want you dolls to take notice at all the variation of the different types of doorknobs I have. I just love the fact that my house will have so much variation. It just feeds into my story for the house that it was repaired and updated on a budget. Now, if you haven't seen my video about the do-it-yourself perfume bottles, definitely check that out because I show you how to make these little soaps. These are polymer clay soaps, and I actually made them to go with the perfume bottles for the rooming house dollhouse bathroom. But after I cut the bars of soap and baked them, they were hard, but there were some irregularities in the shapes. So I just took a small piece of really fine sandpaper and just sanded them so that the edges inside would be more uniform, so they actually would look like tiny bars of soap. And I didn't have to do a lot of sanding, dolls, just a little bit to refine the shape. And dolls, you can avoid this step altogether if you made your bars of soap with molds or if you just cut them perfectly. And I didn't do either, so I had to do a little sanding. So this is just another one of those really small, almost insignificant projects, but they just add a lot of realism to your dollhouse bathroom to have little bars of soaps in a jar or sitting on the sink or on the bathtub. So use your imagination and play and see what you can come up with. So here, dolls, I have a rug that I already enhanced with burlap fringe. If you haven't seen my video for that, definitely check it out in my playlist. But after I added the burlap to it, I still see that there was a white border showing up along the edge. Now this rug is made of like a felt type fabric and it's printed on the front, but it's not all the way through the fabric. So the border of it was showing up as white. So I took some watered down acrylic paint and a really fine brush and just drizzled literally the watered down acrylic paint along that fringe area, and it took really well. I was really glad I took a moment to do this very small, insignificant thing. It seemed like a small detail, but it definitely made a difference in how the rug looked, because when you see things like that, if you took a photograph and that white edge showed up around your rug, it would distort the image. It would break the fantasy. And you don't want to do that, dolls. You want to give your images and your dollhouse scenes as much realism as possible. So little details like this, they mean a lot. And this project was really simple, really easy, didn't take a long time. It wasn't even messy. I was actually working on something else and stopped and did it in the middle of another project while I was waiting for something else to dry. So I want to encourage you to take the time to observe your setting or your dollhouse to see what it needs. Don't be so fixated on rushing to the finish that you overlook small details that'll really make a nice project great. So in this instance, I had another rug that I actually attempted to do a tea stain, literally a tea stain on the rug. It was unsuccessful. So I pulled out that watered down brown acrylic paint again, and it actually worked perfectly. The fringe on this rug was way, way too white, too bright. It just didn't look natural. And now that I've stained it with the watered down acrylic paint, it looks a lot better. Now here I have a bathtub that I'm planning to use inside the rooming house dollhouse. It actually was the original bathtub that I got with my original dollhouse. But I wanted to do a couple things to make it look better as well. Those brass faucets really don't work for me or the look that I'm using for my house. Now for my metal projects like that, I use the Testors brand silver. I really like the tone. It looks very good on metallic or metal items. It really gives a strong metallic look. And I just brushed those faucets to make them look more like silver, I guess chrome, which looks a lot more vintage than the brass. And after I painted the faucets, I was feeling really good about it. I felt like it looked a lot better because it looked like one of those old-fashioned clawfoot style tubs, but something was still missing. And then I realized what it was. There's no drain. How do you have a tub with no drain? I mean, the house has running water, so you got to have a drain. So I found like a little eye loop or eye pin, and I decided I'm going to make a faux drain for my bathtub. So that little hole or loop looked like it was the right size, but I needed to get the stem off of there. And I had to carefully cut it. And anytime you're using wire cutters, things like that, always be careful, dolls. Don't pinch your finger. And I really like the size of that and the shape, but I definitely needed to do a little refining. And I just laid it in there to get an idea about how it would look, and I liked it. So then I began to work on the little eye pin. I really liked the shape and the basic color, but I sanded it a little bit to get that sharp edge off where I cut the part of the pin off, and then I painted it with the same chrome or metallic Testors paint so that it would match the faucet. So now that the faucet is dry, I'm untaping it so I can really look and see to make sure I didn't miss any spots. Because if I did, I'm going to have to touch it up, dolls. But nope, it's looking good. The faucets are nice and chrome. They look really vintage. I think that looks great. I'm excited. But we got to get that drain in, and the drain should be dry by now because this is the next day. So I allowed it to dry overnight. And that looks really cute. But again, it looks off because if you were looking down a drain, it wouldn't be white. So I need to put something dark or black behind that bead to give the impression of depth. So I found a really small piece of black paper, and I decided I'll lay the piece of black paper in before I put the eye loop on top of it, and that will give me the impression of depth and make my drain look a little bit more realistic. So I cut a little piece of paper towels and put it under the eye pin. It looked exactly the way I imagined it. So I added some Gorilla Super Glue gel to the bottom of the tub in the area that I wanted my drain to be. So I added the little small piece of black paper to the bottom of the tub where I wanted the drain to be. And there it is. And after I added that, I added glue to the top of the little black piece of paper. And I used the bottom of a wooden dowel to make sure it covered the entire piece of black paper because I want all the edges of the eye loop to adhere. So I don't want it to miss the part that I want to be glued, if you understand what I mean. And there we are. We have a drain in the rooming house dollhouse bathroom. And I just kind of tapped it a little bit just to make sure that it's pressed all the way in the glue. So that's it. A very simple project, but it made a world of difference to my bathtub. Now here, dolls, is another really quick project. That's the little cabinet I got in a bulk lot from some things off of eBay, some second hand items I've gotten a while back. I just wanted to enhance it a little bit. I had painted it with the acrylic brown paint, but now I'm going to add a little Mod Podge, the satin, to just give it a little sheen and brighten it up to make it look more wood-like. Now, dolls, I should have taped up the little mirror to protect it from the Mod Podge, but I didn't. But I was careful not to get it on there. To protect areas when you're painting or glazing, just put a little painter's tape over the area you're trying to mask off, or masking tape. And after adding that, I was going to put a little satin on the sink, and I stopped and wiped it off because I realized sinks back then weren't shiny. So here I am with my dining room table that I made from the kit. If you haven't seen that video, definitely check it out in my playlist. Now, I didn't add any varnish to this dolls after I finished staining it. So here I am, I'm going over it with a natural or neutral colored shoe polish, just the regular old-fashioned kiwi shoe polish. And it's kind of like a wax, and I'm just rubbing it in, and it's bringing the color up, and it's actually going to really seal and protect the wood. Now, dolls, this is one of the things that I did years ago. It worked really great. I actually stained my first dollhouse floors with brown shoe polish, buffed it in, and that was my stain and varnish all in one. So in this instance, I did stain my table with regular penetrating wood stain, but I'm using shoe polish as my sealer or varnish. And I did go over it a little bit, sanding areas that I felt like needed to be a little bit smoother. But then, like I said, I just rubbed in the shoe polish, and I thought it made it look really, really pretty. The wood warmed up. I could see the color and the texture and the grain a little bit more. And yeah, I thought it looked really, really pretty. So this was just a collection of really small things that I do or things that I've done with items that I have. I want to encourage you to take the time to do the small things because small things have a really big impact. If you've enjoyed this video today, definitely let me know in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. Now look for me on Mondays and Wednesdays after 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Those are my regular upload days. But this was just a quick pop-up. I just wanted to share with you what I was up to. Looking forward to seeing you, dolls, on the next episode of Little Gretchen's Workshop. Bye-bye now.